Warney done as well. I reckon he might have retired if we hadn't won that game.
Oh, beautifully bowled. That's a wonderful delivery from Shane Warne.
We sat in the change rooms at Headingley, open slather, everyone around the walls, anyone that had anything to say about what we were doing, how we were training, how we were preparing, any individual problems that were amongst the group, everything had to be put on the table there and then.
Full pitch, down the rifle, he should catch this, should he? No, he drops it.
Paul, I don't know how to speak to you again after doing that. Like, I think our friendship is over. I'm not talking to you again.
That's it. South Africa outdoors didn't run. I cannot believe it. Australia go into the World Cup final.
Our first game of that tournament was against Scotland, actually, and we were lucky to win that one. We played really poorly in that game. I think that was down in Worcester, something like that. We played poorly. New Zealand beat us in Cardiff. Pakistan beat us at Headingley, and we knew at that stage that we had to win. We had to win every game to progress. And it was like we just flicked the switch, and we did. As you say, in an ideal world, you want to be peaking at the back end of the tournament, but it's too late if you've lost your 3 games along the way. It doesn't matter what happens after that. So we had to change things and change things quickly. I remember sitting in the change rooms after that loss to Pakistan. We sat in the change rooms at Headingley, open slather, everyone around the walls, anyone that had anything to say about what we were doing, how we were training, how we were preparing, any individual problems that were amongst the group, everything had to be put on the table there and then. And we had it out in a really good open environment, and then it was move on and play and start playing properly and start winning games if you want to be a chance to win the World Cup.
That's the end of proceedings. A wonderful shot there to finish the match. Australia have knocked off this Bangladesh total in 19.5 overs.
Stephen was under all sorts of pressure actually at that stage. There was talk about potentially being his last series as captain, and if he didn't make runs in that particular game, I reckon it was, there was just some rumours around if he didn't make runs in that game, then he might have been dropped and someone else would take over the captaincy for the back half of the World Cup, which would have been a disaster. But therein again, you don't doubt champion players in big moments and big times, and there was no bigger time in a World Cup probably than the captain having to put his hand up and get the job done. He got away with one, obviously. He hit to Herschel Gibbs at mid-wicket, but ended up making a magnificent 100.
Well, that's it. That's a magnificent century. A century played when the pressure was really on. He is a fantastic cricketer.
Him and I we must have put on 150, maybe more than that, I guess, to sort of keep us in the game. And then for Stephen, I think Tom Moody might have been in at the end to win the game. Was probably a real turning point for us in the tournament. To be almost down and out and find a way to win probably gave everyone a little bit of confidence. And I'll tell you a story about that Herschel Gibbs drop catch. We'd had our team meeting the day before the game, and we'd finished up, and as we're about to walk out, Warney says, "Hey, everyone, stop, I've got something I've got to say before we leave the room." He said, "If any of you guys hit a catch to Herschel Gibbs in this game, don't walk." He said, "I've been watching him through the game, don't walk," because he's been catching the ball really quickly and then just throwing it out of his hands really fast. And we were like, are you serious, Warney? And no one said that to him, but it was like, "Oh yeah, good one, mate." And sure enough, it happened in the game. Stephen hit it straight to him, he caught it, absolute sitter, went to throw it up, and it slipped out of his hand, exactly the way that Warney said it was going to happen. It was remarkable. Steve said something to him. I think this story might have got blown out of proportion a bit over the years, because I was standing at the other end, and I was pretty close to what he said, and as the story goes, he said, "Mate, you've just dropped the World Cup," but I don't think he said that. He said a few other things, but it's a good story anyway.
Wonderful delivery from Shane Warne.
If you look back through his whole career, I've never seen him more animated than he was in that game. He got the big wickets. The ball that he bowled Herschel Gibbs with was as good a ball he probably bowled in his career. Cronje comes out, unluckily got one off the toe, looked like he edged it to slip. Gary Kirsten, he got bowled through the gate. But if you look at the way that he was reacting at the end of that, I sort of sensed it then, but having looked back at it over the years and watched replays of it, I just reckon if we'd have lost that game, that might have been Warney done.